DC here. Hi guys and gals. Well, hope you're well. It is Monday. And Monday as usual, well this time it will be as usual, I will do a couple tags. And we'll be starting with Jasmine's tag. Hey there Jasmine. Glad to see that you're back and looking good. So I expect you're feeling good as well. So let's just start and get on with this tag. Yes, so question 1. What do you take for granted? Well, that there'll be a Monday tag. That's probably what I took for granted last week. No, let me see. What do I take for granted? Well, let me see. Sometimes the expression to take for granted is usually things that you expect are and don't expect them to ever be any other way. So you might take for granted that well, you've been a good person and so life will always be good for you. Things like that. Or on the other hand, taking for granted might be that you just take as a given, and I like that one better actually. So yeah, I'll take for granted that my family loves me, and the other thing I'll take for granted is that I am loved by God. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was a pretty simple one. Yeah. So let's see. Question 2. Have you ever been terrified? I've been scared. I've been scared, even quite scared a few times. But terrified, I mean like a complete fear of death or something like that? No. And quite happy. There's going to be wind. The last video I made, or the last log, for some reason the wind got into the wind factor or something, stopped the sound from coming out well. It doesn't usually do this, but anyway. Oh, so back to the question, shouldn't I? Have I ever been terrified? I think that the closest I've been to being terrified were times when, a few times when Mrs. DC was really sick, and to think what could happen. And so I think that was probably the questions where I would feel more terrified, or of thinking like, oh, I might be, would there be the chance that I would be on my own? When was the second childbirth? There was a moment, or a short period, where it wasn't quite certain if either her or the baby would get through it. So, yeah, that kind of terrified me, I guess. Yeah. Okay, question 3. What do you think about supermarkets? That's an interesting question, because I've listened now to a few tags, and people are looking at supermarkets in a different way. I guess that over here, the big grocery stores, I think probably we should look at it the other way around. When I was a kid, in town you might have a greengrocer's, a butcher's, or a small grocery store, a small candy store, or something like that, a haberdashery, things like that. And things were kind of like mom and pop stores. And maybe that's compared to, a big store which tends to have everything. Now, that might be what is kind of asked for here. At least that's the way I'll answer for it. And it's been years basically where I have not done any other type of basically shopping or groceries or stuff like that outside of what could be called, I guess, a supermarket. But in Switzerland, in the villages, there's still very much, or in certain parts of the city, of our town, there's like certain boroughs or what, where they still have their bakers, their butcher and stuff like that, and people will go to those stores, and they will get, of course, a different type of service. So I think that if you're living in a village, there's certainly, part of that whole village experience of going to the small shops. But when you're living in the city, I think that what I think of supermarkets is cool. I don't have to go all over. I do my stuff, I buy my things, and that's it. Now, not ever since, I was going to say ever since COVID, but that's not true. One could probably say ever since the internet, supermarkets have become like Amazon. I think you know what I mean. And even more since the COVID. There's just so many things now that you can just simply go and buy online, that the world has kind of become your supermarket in a way. Okay. So what do I think of supermarkets? They're really good, and on a human level, less, I suppose. But, it's questionable. Okay, question 4. What do you have a hard time accepting? A hard time accepting. I was almost going to say at one point getting old, but it's not true, actually. I kind of enjoy getting older, maybe not getting decrepit. What do I have a hard time of accepting? I guess in a way, especially like when I became retired, a hard time of becoming irrelevant. I was in a field where had research groups and did a bit of teaching and did quite a bit of traveling in the last few years, and kind of felt I was doing something for not only for myself but for other people, and I think that might be. I think that might be it, because all of a sudden when it stopped, and well, the pandemic came and screwed up a lot of things, but all of a sudden everything I did kind of became irrelevant. That was kind of hard accepting. That might be why I always have, I've often talked about these recurrent dreams, of having to leave and realizing that there was a room that I hadn't, or a box or something, or a desk that I hadn't cleaned out. Anyway, yeah, I guess that kind of answers it. Question 5 and last. How much has your past shaped you? A lot. I'd say my upbringing, which basically gave into me a sense of right and wrong. Coming to work, basically doing a PhD in science, but also in a domain which was high visibility. Coming to Europe, working with a big pharmaceutical company, then with a nutrition company, and working together with, I was going to say the most preeminent group in microbiome research over in Cork. That's fascinated me a lot. And then my faith, my family, the way that we react with the people, different cultures. It's all part of my past because I've been, it's just being who I was. So how much did my past shape me? Very, very much so. Okay, and that is it. And I'm over 10 minutes as usual. Thank you, Jasmine. That was, again, very stimulating. Tag. Have a great week. Bye-bye.